Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, I am Brent Hazard. I'm bringing you the greatest hour of your week, the Richie and Hazz Show. What's going on, Richard Schwartz?
I'm doing great. I'm ready for the show.
Try to match my energy. When I get up like that, you've got to match.
I got to scream, right, that's the greatest show.
Why don't you tell that horrible joke about me getting my hair ready that you said 5 seconds ago?
I said that you need to comb your hair before we go on the air.
It's not really funny. It's not funny for someone wearing a toupee. So,
no toupee, no toupee.
Okay, surgical implant.
No surgical implants.
We're joined again by Stephen Nixon. Stephen, how are you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, that's a lie.
No, I'm serious.
We're glad.
Always glad to be.
We're glad you're here.
We have a fourth man of the trio today. For the first time, the contributor, the legend himself, Randy Wildman Brown. Randy, I was talking to you, baby. There he is.
Wait, it's not a trio if there's 4 of us.
A new man to our trio. That's what I said. We're about to go back to being a 3-man party.
Trio
is about to. But yes, we are officially a foursome today. For those who do not know you, first of all, Randy, congratulations on your award this year. You were honored, and it's escaping me now, sir. You were honored for 40 years in the business. Is that correct?
No, I was honored for being, after over 40 years.
I know you're not used to being near Mike, but please scoot forward up, veteran. I need you to get close to the mic.
After being in the business,
okay,
over 40 years.
Yes, sir.
I was awarded by the Jackson Music Awards as being the 2020 R&B Disc Jockey of the Year.
Okay.
And where can people hear you if they do not listen to you, sir?
If they would like to hear my on-air show, Tuesday nights, 90.1 FM, WMPR, on your radio dial, or on the World Wide Web at www.wmpr.com. And also, I might add to that, I was also selected as one of the distinguished radio air personalities by the ZBT Award Committee down on the I-10 corridor area. That's Zydeco blues and trail ride music for this year also. So it's been quite an adventure, but thank you, Richie, for having me on the show. Thank you, Brent.
Whoa. Richard Schwartz, I mean...
He's thinking both of us.
It's
the Richie and Hazz Show.
Until you saw him here today, and he went
to called
you
the
first.
Richie and Hazz Show.
Richie's name is first on the show.
Richie's name is first. Don't be jealous. Don't be jealous.
I'm not jealous, but who raised you like that? I'm like, go ahead and thank me, man. Go ahead and throw a little. I like to thank Richie, and I'm like, what the hell?
Well, thank you, Brent.
No.
He wants all the accolades. That's okay.
All the accolades, the ones I earned.
And also, wait a minute, but we don't want to leave anyone out. I have my distinguished guest over here, friend.
I've already introduced Stephen.
Well, then I haven't said anything to him yet, Brent. Please. Don't take that little bit away from me.
Brent, we were trying to have a little side talk. I'm happy to be here with you.
I can see how this show's
Wild
going to
man.
go.
I'm
going to leave, and I'll be back in an hour, and y'all just let me know how my show's going.
Sure.
Okay. I appreciate it. Anyway, we have to get to, let me get to, for those who do not know, we're giving $250 for the best comment of the show. We announced our winner and gave him the money. I am looking up the gentleman's name because I'm a poor producer. But we're getting tremendous reaction. We want to thank everybody for listening, tuning in, commenting. You can find us on Facebook on the Richie and Hazz Show and on YouTube on the Richie and Hazz Show. We're trying to attack social media and do something a little bit different in Mississippi, and we do appreciate everybody's contributions. And are you getting recognized, Stephen?
I'm not.
I've been recognized 3 times. It's kind of freaking me out a little bit.
Oh,
just a
okay.
little bit. But now this is when I did not want to be recognized.
Yeah, so.
I was at Regions the other day, and I was in the drive-thru, and I was making a deposit because I lost my debit card. It's been a wonderful week. But then when I put the plastic thing back in, you know how you put it in, and I was getting my receipt, and it kind of did it like a basketball shot. It twirled around and fell on the concrete, and it went under my car. So I was like, well, let me back up so I can get out, because I couldn't open my door because I couldn't get out of there. So I drove forward so I could get out and get it, and then I hit it.
And you ran over it.
Well, no, I knew I was going to run over. I'm not an idiot. I felt it, so I stopped. So then I tried to back up. Well, I couldn't back up far enough to open the door. So I was there for about 3 minutes trying to figure out what to do. And the bank teller's looking at me like, what are you doing? I'm like, dude, I'm stuck here. I can't go forward because I didn't know if it was glass or what it was, a hard plastic, if it was going to hurt the tire. So I just went forward, shattered it. But this was right after I've been recognized by 2 people from the Richie and Hazz show.
And did you just drive off, or did
you
go back?
Of course not. My mother raised me right. I got out because I'm on video, one, but my mother raised me right. So I'm picking up the plastic shards while everybody at Regents on County Line was looking. Hey, that's Brent Hazz from the Richie and Hazz show. Look how stupid he is. So at that point, I was sitting there
No, you actually showing he's a janitor. He's not doing too well in this business.
Did you just call me a janitor?
No, that's what they're saying. Look, I didn't know this was your first job.
Okay. But anyway, we're here finally to talk about some new topics. For those who do not know, right now we're doing 2-part shows. So hopefully this show will drop Wednesday, and then the next week, part 2 will drop. Yep. And we're trying to stick to that schedule, but as you can tell, this is all an experiment. We're all excited about it, but we're all learning as we go. We do want to give us a shout out to our famous producer and director, Reggie Wheaton of Life Pop. If you have any family celebrations or weddings that need to be taped, recorded, edited, call Reggie Wheaton at Life Pop. Reggie, what is that number?
That number is 769
769
692
692
5865.
I don't know if Life Pop, if they could hear you with no mic today, but that's why I was interrupting my good friend Reggie. And we want to always thank our unknown sound engineer who will remain nameless at this point because he has a real job.
That's right.
And
But he's good.
He's excellent.
Very good.
But with that said, let's get into topic number 1.
Whoa! Who won the $250?
Yeah, you said you were going to look it up. And
Yeah.
you didn't say who.
We Gerandal Horn, my assistant tells me.
Okay.
Mr. Horn he's a
Congratulations.
wonderful young man. We thanked him for listening. I talked to him via text. We're actually looking for, and let me get there, but Richie, what have you been up to while I'm looking for this?
I've just been working. Working.
You're a little bit, everybody knows you really don't work anymore.
That's right. I go to the office every day. How about that?
Well, I mean, do they just put you in there and turn your TV on and let you watch the commercials?
They lock me up, put me in a room and lock me up. They don't want me roaming the halls.
Gerandal Horn. But yes, we are still looking, and if she's listening, and let me find her. Our first winner, we still can't get a hold of, and we owe her $250, and I hate owing people money, especially women.
Wow.
Well,
Wow. I don't know what that means.
yeah.
Then why are you wowing if you don't know what that means?
Because
it could have a double-edged sword.
We're trying to process that. What did that mean?
Yeah, I mean, it could mean something.
Because women always remind me when I owe them money, and I know from experience you never want to owe a woman money. That's all. Would you like to owe one of your female friends money?
What's different between her and a male?
Cause
now it's getting interesting.
Okay,
Now it's getting on to the meat of
I
things.
can't answer that. I mean, if you don't know the difference.
Well, I mean, you owe money to somebody. It doesn't matter if
Because
it's
the
male or
guy's
female.
going to either mention it, it's going to be gone. It's not. I even though I pay it, I'll be apologizing for owing it that amount of time for the next 3 years of my life.
I don't think you're going to be able to recover from this, Brent. It was kind of sexist.
That's not sexist. That's
kinda
more like
misogynist.
reality. Are you disagreeing with that assessment, Mr. Nixon?
Officially,
Why are you
yes.
paying all these?
It sounds
I'm
like
not.
Why are you paying all these women?
It sounds like crawfishing.
Yeah, that's
I'm not-
Yeah,
crawfishing.
crawfishing. Yeah.
Why are you paying all these women, Brent? That's what I want to know.
I'm saying that
Or not paying them.
previous relationships, when I've promised to do something, and with a guy, it'll be over. A woman I'll be having an argument with today will bring it up 2 years. And you remember that time you didn't buy me those shoes you promised me? And I'm like, what are you talking? I have my assistant agreeing with me. But with that said, let's get into topic number 1 for the show. Why, for some reason, I'm sweating profusely.
You want to talk about the fair?
Yeah, how'd it go?
It's,
Did
well,
anybody
I'm
go?
sorry. Is that on topic number 1?
Oh, no.
Is that a list?
Well, it can be. You
Is
got a
it-
pen?
No, it's not on my topic number 1.
Okay, let's talk about
So
your
no,
topic.
no,
It's all about you. Let's
no,
talk about your
no.
topic.
Since I emailed a series of topics out,
I know,
and
but-
you were too lazy to look at them,
No,
I
no,
want to
I
stick to
looked
my
at 'em.
topic.
I looked at him, but we talked off the air about the
And
fair.
that's good. We'll keep that off the air. But you're not hijacking the show, mister. I got here 5 minutes after everybody else did.
Hey, you're
Let's stick to topic number 1.
okay.
Or did you
Okay.
not get here 5 minutes after everybody else did?
Yeah, but last time you were 15 minutes.
I was stuck by Ridgeland PD, who did a wonderful job giving me a ticket, very professional, but they stopped me for 15 minutes checking my tag because I contend Hinds County's not sending out notices tag. Topic number 1.
Number 1.
Yep.
I really don't need that.
Thank you.
I'm just saying.
Number 1.
But can you do something with your husband? Anything? Anyway, let's get into Black Lives Matter in Mississippi. We've been avoiding the topic just because we have not had a diverse panel, but one of the things
Yeah.
we would know for on WNPR is actually true conversation about race. With that said, why have we not had a lot of riots, uprisings during Black Lives Matter?
In Mississippi.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here.
Yeah, thank God that hasn't happened. I think, I think it's a much bigger problem in northern cities or bigger cities than it is in the state of Mississippi. I think
Well, no one would disagree with that.
And I think
why.
that's the reason.
What?
Well, it's because
You just told me the reason we haven't had a lot of riots
because
we haven't
because
had a
the
lot of
reality
riots.
is we live in smaller communities and everyone has black friends, white friends, Chinese friends here that are
what I was gonna
friends.
say.
In big cities, you're isolated. You're not together, and that's the biggest difference to me.
Under your reasoning, then we should not have had a history of racial violence in Mississippi.
No, that's
No.
no. That's times have changed.
I don't think that's right, Brent.
Okay, he just said because are you saying we lived in big communities where?
No, we're talking about where we are right now.
I understand where we are right now.
Not the history.
Not in
but
the 60s
where, we
where
are right
they
now.
were
But
right.
you can't
We're fighting-
judge where we are now without looking at the. Okay, has there been a worse state with worse racial history than the state of Mississippi? Yes or no?
It was bad in the 60s. There's no
Anybody
doubt.
were in the
Alabama
60s,
may have been worse.
70s.
Yeah.
It was great. It was so you're saying in the 60s and 70s. So it's been gotten better after the 60s, is what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely. No question.
No. Okay, Stephen. Yes or no? One, are we the worst? Are we the worst state with the worst racial history in the country?
No, I think we get picked on as though we were, but we're not. Objectively speaking, we're not. No.
Okay, you got to expound on that. Go ahead.
Well, Richie mentioned another good state, Alabama.
Okay. I'm not saying there's some
Alabama's got
so-
just as bad of a history as we do.
I don't remember a movie called Alabama Burning.
Well,
So you judging it on the movies
No,
that
I'm
exist?
I'm judging.
so
it.
Rob Reiner is
judging
the
it.
ultimate
Yeah,
decider of racial
Y'all
history.
realize Alabama Burning was about 3 people getting killed, right?
Mississippi burning?
I understand Selma, but what I'm saying is Mississippi Burning was about a true event, and what I'm going is historically. But yes, you can say, okay, are you saying it comes down to us in Alabama?
No. I think today's world,
I'm talking the history.
In history. Yeah, and the other thing, too, there's been a lot of severe racism in urban centers up north, too. It's just not talked about as much.
well,
I agree.
there's a
I
difference.
agree. I agree.
The bigger cities up north, the problem is they're more divided. There's community in Mississippi. It's not as divided, because Faulkner put it right. Faulkner said that up north, the Yankees, they love the race but hate the black men. In Mississippi, they hate the race but love the black men because they have friends.
Okay, hang on. Randy, why haven't we seen racial violence in Mississippi during Black Lives Matter? Or violence, not any type of rioting.
Well,
or
first of all, in
uprising.
reference to the question itself, I looked into the matter and found out that Black Lives Matter itself. I have a Wikipedia explanation of what Black Lives Matter is, and I'd
Okay.
like to share that with you.
No, wait, I didn't ask you that. Don't be hijacking.
No,
the topic.
I have to.
I don't care what Wikipedia. I want a black man's opinion, not Wikipedia. I can
Okay,
Google
when
it.
a
What-
black man,
a black
okay,
man who's been living. Okay, how long have you lived in Jackson?
all my life.
Okay. Born
and I'll
here?
be born here.
Went to
Born here.
school where?
Went to school at Elizabeth.
Okay.
At Blackburn, Jim
Okay.
Hill. Graduated from Lanier, 1971.
Okay.
Class president. Hey!
Congratulations.
Nation.
If you
And also, let me tell you something. Black Lives Matter is not related to violence and riots.
I agree with that.
It's a non-violent movement.
You're
okay,
right.
let me ask you this
You're right.
though. Would you say there's a correlation, maybe not a causation, to racial unrest with the marches and riots? With the marches and protests.
Well, yeah, there's a definitely. They're all intertwined.
Correct.
They're all intertwined together, but where the focus comes to bring about the negativity upon Black Lives Matter is when you have people who are participating who don't actually understand the concept of what Black Lives Matter is all about. So they come in with outside negativity, and then you may even have influences from white supremacy groups.
And that's all true, but that's not my question. If you would have told me in 2020 or 2019 that there were going to have to be a series of racial riots in the country, and you would have gave me D.C.,
Right,
Portland,
right,
Seattle,
right,
Jackson,
right,
New Orleans,
right.
or Memphis. We'll pick those 6 at random. I would have picked Memphis, New Orleans, and Jackson. I would have never picked Portland.
Those would have been last on my list.
You're telling me you
Portland,
knew
Seattle, and D.C. would have been the top of my list, and those other 3 cities would have been. It's because I think this. I agree with what Richie said. That's what was going to be my response. Is that, these are closer knit communities. If somebody's going and throwing a brick through a shop window right here, I'm likely to know them. The person throwing the brick is likely to know them. We're a closer knit community, despite we have our issues, of course, too.
Exactly.
But up there in Portland and Seattle, these are big centers. There's people coming in from out of town who don't know the community and don't care, and we're a tighter knit community. Like Richie said, you can't live in Hinds County, Mississippi, and not have regular interaction in your daily life with a diverse group of people. You
Okay.
can't do it.
I agree.
And that impacts how I'm going to approach something like a protest or any of that kind of stuff. I mean, that matters. Like I know the people marching there, right? So I see somebody I recognize. I see somebody I know. Okay, I'm not scared of that, right? I mean, and then they're not scared or threatened by me because maybe they know me too. All of those things. I mean, that's one of the different. We had a BLM
a march,
and it was fine.
No one was
Yeah, it was
arrested.
fine.
Now,
But also, I think Wildman's right here too. Is that it devolves into violence when the white people show up in Portland. That's when it devolves into violence. It's when the
I'm
Antifa
confused.
and or the others show up.
Because someone who looked like you in the previous show said the leftist groups were responsible for the violence.
No, it's white people in those leftist groups.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look at those, most of these videos, when you're seeing, fires and it's not exclusive, but
And
you
looting.
see a whole there are videos of white people yelling in the faces of black police officers, even using racial slurs in the name of Black Lives Matter. That's where it goes off the rails, is when you have these, and I don't even know that it's safe to call them leftists. I mean, these are like neo-Marxists, they're anarchist white people. I think they're responsible for at least a large part of the violence. And so, they hijack they hijack the positive aspect of protesting for racial justice, and then it devolves into something else.
Something else.
But I think that's coming from some elements that aren't just there about racial justice.
Yeah, Wildman, you didn't tell us why you don't think there's any violence in Mississippi.
Oh yeah, that's right. Go ahead.
Why I
That was
don't
Richie, but it's okay.
why I don't think there's any violence in Mississippi, Rich, is because basically we've had our violent moments.
We have.
We have had our violent moments.
Specifically, name some.
For instance, the riots on the campus of JSU. I was actually there when the green guy was killed. I was there that night.
Okay. Give us some background there. What year is this?
It had to be around 68, somewhere around 68.
What were you doing then? Were you on campus? Were you working?
No, I was a student. However, being always an active member of protests for civil rights. See, it's a difference between civil rights and Black Lives Matter. Whereas civil rights, we're reaching for the injustices basically that have been placed upon blacks over the years systemically through the actions of the community, actions of the government.
You can say white people.
Yeah. Well, white people.
Okay, you can say white people.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean,
But
I'm not afraid.
No.
But
May,
I'm just saying.
May 15th, 1970 is the date I'm getting, sir. Was when the Jackson State shootings happened.
Okay. Well, I said around 68.
Yeah, I know.
No,
I'm with
it's in the area.
you. Okay, you were actually there.
I was actually there.
Okay.
Matter of fact, I was there when Alexander Hall was shot up that night.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I can visualize it so vividly today as we're sitting here right now.
Let me stop you. Alexander Hall. What is that? Is that
Alexander Hall is the women's dorm.
okay?
It's the women's dorm on Jackson State campus. And at that particular time, the thoroughfare had traffic coming through. Right now, they have since closed it off,
Okay.
and they call it the University Plaza.
Okay.
But it went from Dalton Street all the way down to Prentice Street, and that was open. That was an open thoroughfare for traffic. However, that particular night, the highway patrol troopers, state troopers, they marched up. I heard some shooting down by Stewart Hall, which is the area near Prentice Street where the men's dorm is.
Okay.
And this is where the brother Gibbons was killed. He was killed down that area, but we didn't know it. We just heard shots. So as the troopers progressed up toward Alexander Hall, where I was standing in particular, I just happened to be across the street from the entrance to Alexander Hall. They had students standing out in front of the hall. They were singing "We Shall Overcome" and the regular songs of that time, relevant to particular incidents like that. When the troopers came up and stopped right there in front of the students, someone, I don't know who, someone in the crowd, they were lined up on each side of this bus. They call it the Thompson Tank.
Okay.
A shielded vehicle, armored vehicle. But the troops were lined up on each side. You know, they were in riot gear and everything. Okay, so someone threw a wine bottle. I mean, it was like, can you imagine throwing a wine bottle up in the air, the light hit it, you can see the glitter, the gleam, but when you throw it up, you know, I'm looking, and it looked as if it was in slow motion. But actually, when it come down, it hit the top of the Thompson tank. And when it did that, it exploded and sounded as if someone had fired. And when that happened, all hell broke loose. I mean, like, the troopers, they opened fire on the students, and I literally thought that the students were all being gunned down.
Where were you physically?
Physically, say Alexander Hall is on this side. They were shooting that way. I'm on this side of the street.
Okay.
I'm across the street.
Okay.
But when they started shooting, the students fell down. Everybody screaming, and man, they riddled the whole building with bullets. But we took off running back across the campus. One guy that was running beside me, he was nicked by a bullet. He said he had failed and cut his arm, but his arm was split open. So he went to the campus infirmary. The lady drawed him on in, told us, y'all go home, get on away from here. So we left and went back off in the neighborhood, which is Washington Addition. We call that Doggone Addition.
Okay.
But we went back home because it was a frightful moment because no one knew if they were going to be living after seeing something like that. And I thought that they had killed a bunch of students, but actually it turned out by the grace of God, that the majority of the students, they shot over their head, but they just, from the first floor on up, it was just riddled. The dormitory was riddled with bullets.
Now, it says here on Wikipedia that the gunfire lasted for 30 seconds and more than 460 shots were fired by reportedly 40 state highway patrol.
Exactly.
Now,
yeah, that is a miracle that there weren't just mass deaths.
Yeah, mass death.
Man.
and Philip Gibbs, a junior, and James Earl Green, a senior, and nearby Jim Hill were killed, and 12 others were wounded. Now, let me ask you this. I'm going to go through some background. Here, Wikipedia is my source, and it's not the most it's the easiest source to find. It's not the most accurate.
Yeah, you fussed at him a minute ago.
Oh, I understand. That's why
Wikipedia, Brett. All right,
I'm getting confirmation from an eyewitness. I'm getting
Thank you,
confirmation from a witness. It starts off that back to what you're saying about the white motorists were driving through the main road through campus. And Lynch Street is what my assistant's telling me.
Exactly.
And they were saying that the students were reportedly pelting rocks at the white motorists.
Exactly.
Okay, that happened.
That actually happened. As a matter of fact, during that time, it would start down near Lynch and just before you get around Rose Street.
Okay.
If you were standing on the campus of Jackson State, just on the other side of Dalton Street, and you could hear a car coming, and you knew that it was white people in the car because you hear them say, "Here comes a white face. Here comes," and you could hear them. I mean, like they're actually coming through, gunning for their lives. I mean, like they got the foot on the metal.
Yeah.
The car is
Speeding.
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 Yeah, I mean, the car is actually going 100 miles an hour all it'll get. But in the process of this, when they say, "Here comes a white face," then you could hear all the way up the street bricks or bottle or something hitting the car.
Now, what was the motivation or what was the anger the students had at the white drivers?
At the time,
Were there any specifics or was it just civil unrest?
it was basically civil unrest, integration, the war in Vietnam. It was issues like that basically blacks were being drafted straight out of high school. They had a draft in at that particular time. Correct me if I'm wrong.
It would have been Vietnam.
To go to Vietnam.
Yeah, it would have been.
Right. If you didn't have good grades or you didn't have a good attendance in school, or showing that you're moving forward, going to a higher institution of learning, then you will most likely be drafted. However, if you had like a scholarship or you had good grades in school or they saw you as a prospect for going to college and moving forward, then they will put you in a class called 1H. And 1H was a class that you were not likely to be drafted. Not likely to be drafted. These are black students.
No, okay.
You know, not likely to be drafted.
This was Jim Hill?
Well, I went to Lanier.
Okay, Lanier.
I'm from West Jackson, but my mother went to Lanier.
Okay.
So during my sophomore year, to do something different, I chose to go all the way across town to Lanier.
Okay.
Okay, but due to segregation and integration coming in on segregation, then the second half of my junior year in 11th grade, when we took break for Christmas, then I was forced to leave Lanier and go to Jim Hill.
Okay.
Come back to Jim Hill, which was in my district.
So they were trying to integrate the schools.
Right. They're
Okay.
trying to integrate schools. So you couldn't choose where you wanted to go.
Okay, hang on a second. There's so much I want to unpack there, but let me swing it over here. Richie, 1970, how old were you?
Gosh, let's see. I remember growing up
Okay.
where they actually had black and white bathrooms, black and white sinks. I remember that, and I remember we went to the zoo, and they had a white water fountain and a black water fountain, and I said, That's ridiculous. There
You're
was a
right.
line for the white. I said, that's ridiculous. I'm coming over here and drink water here. And it was a tragedy.
Okay,
It's
back-
amazing. It was not that long ago, too.
Yeah,
I'm younger than that, and I'm still amazed
Yeah.
at how relatively. I mean, that was not that long ago.
Okay,
Yeah.
back on topic. Where were you in 1970?
Let's
you-
see. I
want
very
your
young.
perspective
I was
of
born
what-
in 1956.
Okay, you weren't that young. You were 14.
Okay.
Do you have any recollection, or what was your recollection of Jackson State shootings?
I remember it, and I don't remember. I remember someone dying, and I remember how devastating it was. It wasn't the only campus shooting at that time. There was other campus.
Kent State.
Yeah, Kent State and
Yeah.
some other ones. Yeah.
Did you, as a Jewish family, did y'all ever drive? Did y'all know not to drive on Jackson State? Was it known, or was it?
No, I mean what we did. I mean, we worked every day, and so I mean, joy driving was never something we did.
Well, not
Now,
joy
I've been
driving, but like.
now, I have been on Jackson State campus many
No,
times.
I'm talking about 1970. I'm trying to get some historical context from a different point of view. Was it known that if I had to go from A to B and I had to go through Jackson State, that I should drive around if I'm white?
This is the first time I've ever heard about the rocks.
Okay. Back to you, or Chris. Stephen. When were you born?
I was born in '77.
So yeah.
So I
very
don't.
young.
So I don't.
Did
know.
you have any family conversations about this or not?
You know, my parents would have been alive and around at that time, but I don't recall them talking about that specifically. But
Being from Greenville, I really didn't hear about this till I got to Jackson.
Yeah.
And it was actually WLBT's documentary. For whatever reason,
Yeah.
I heard of Kent State, but I did not hear about Jackson State shootings or riots. So that's why I'm trying to get some background
Yeah,
here.
it happened generally a day or two apart. The Jackson State shooting and the Kent State shooting, they were generally in the same time frame. A matter of fact, as Richie mentioned, I remember black water fountain, colored water fountains, as he mentioned. I had a doctor. The family physician was in Clinton. His name was Reynolds, Dr. Reynolds in Clinton, and
Black or white guy?
white guy.
Okay.
And he had one side said colored, not black, colored.
Color.
Yeah, colored, and one side said white. And
That's amazing.
I remember Richie's father
Seymour.
down at King Distributors.
King the Taylor.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right.
King Incorporated.
I went down there a couple of times and maybe bought a belt or something. You know, you go in and you see all the suits and stuff in the store and you get all excited. Well, I want to buy something here.
Never saw Richie working there, did you?
No, I didn't.
Never saw that.
I didn't get a
I bet he-
chance
I
to-
bet he was
I didn't
sitting
get a
in the
chance to
back.
see Richie, but
Man,
but
so
I
many
remember
people
those
trying to
days because
Kiss up to Richie on
they
the
had
show.
that was when they had downtown on Ferry Street, Hunt and Whitaker Sports Shop, and then
McRae's, everything was down there.
Right, everything was down.
Downtown was booming. J.C. Penney's, Walgreens.
Right.
Yeah.
But I want to get back to what you said about integration. So you're at Lanier. Who told you were going to Jim Hill?
Oh, this was done by Force Integration.
No, but okay. You're what year at Jim Hill or
I-
Lanier? What year at Lanier?
I was at Lanier actually from '68 when I come from. Okay, my 7th grade year, Jim Hill was 7 through 10.
Okay.
7 through 10. My 8th grade year, they had built Jim Hill in the cemetery. They call it in the cemetery, where it is now, down by Isabel School. That's the school I went to during elementary school. Okay, they had built Jim Hill down there. Okay, when I graduated from Blackburn, I went there 8th and 9th grade. When I graduated from Blackburn, now, as opposed to going to Jim Hill, I said, well, I'm going to do something different because, you know, it was the thing to do, So I went to Lanier. I chose to go to Lanier because my mother is a Lanier High School graduate, 1948, 49, something of that nature. Anyway, when I got over to Lanier,
What was Mama's name?
my mother's name,
Yeah.
Frances Lampkin Adams.
Okay, go ahead.
So after I got over to Lanier and coming from out west, I mean, like, I just fit in like a hand going into a glove.
Okay. So what grade is this?
This is sophomore year, 10th grade.
Okay, 10th grade. So at 10th grade, did you finish the year at Lanier?
Yes,
Okay. 11th grade, you go to Lanier, right?
exactly.
Who tells you that you're going to have to go back to Jim Hill?
Jackson Public School.
Okay. How did they inform you? Were they call you in the office? They get a letter at home? They tell your mom? How were you informed?
Oh, you get a letter.
Okay. So you're what 1 month in, 2 months in?
No. They take a break at Christmas.
Okay. Christmas break.
Christmas break.
You
Just before Christmas break, they say, "Hey, we finna enforce this integration."
Okay.
We finna enforce
Was there a
integration.
court case or was there? to your
I
knowledge?
imagine there was.
There was a-
Not knowing
yeah.
Richard probably could.
There was a court case. I can't remember.
Yeah,
but
he probably could elaborate on that. However, we got letters. Everyone that was in, they went by what your address was.
Okay. Now let me ask you this: Lanier demographics. What was the racial diversity at the time you were going there? What this is 68, 60. What is-
68, 69.
Okay. What any white students at Lanier?
When I went to Lanier, there may have been. I don't want to say this is concrete, but there may have been 5 white students.
Out of how many students?
I say out of 500 or more.
Okay. So about 99% African American.
Right.
Okay. So you get this when you first heard you were going to Jim Hill. What was the racial makeup of Jim Hill?
Jim Hill, they may have been at the time they may have been 98%,
White,
98% black.
black.
That was in the graveyard.
So why were they trying to ship you back to integrate to a school that sounded like it was already integrated?
Because they were going by your address,
Okay, just enforcing. Okay.
enforcing the address
Okay.
and what district you were in.
Okay.
So my address, because I'm being out west, then that placed me in a position where I had to go return to Jim Hill.
Okay. But that, to be fair, that wasn't so much for integration, but that was more of just being in the correct school district. Is that fair
Well,
to say?
no, it was integration. That was the main topic because
How did you go to Lanier? Was there choice in the school you went to at that time?
At that time, there was
Okay.
a choice, but when integration came,
Then they
and
said you
because of
got
what-
to go
Yeah,
here.
because of where you stayed, then they say you got to go here.
Okay.
Okay.
You got to go here according to the district. Therefore, okay, when I come back to Jim Hill, it was senior high school. However, my senior year, now they say, well, Jim Hill, we're gonna make it all sophomore, all 10th grade. We're gonna make Jim Hill all 10th grade.
Okay.
So that means that now I was gonna have to go to Wingfield. A lot of students that were like in the Dudeville area down off Gallatin Street, cross 80, they had to go to Central. A lot of people that may have been in the Jim Hill area up across Dalton Street had to go to Provine.
Okay. But okay, but
And all those predominantly white schools.
Yeah, all these were predominantly white schools.
okay, so they started
Yeah, my
trying to
mom
force
graduated
integration.
from Provine High School back
Okay.
around that
Okay.
time. Yeah.
You're right.
Okay. Now, Richie, where did you go to middle school?
I went to Bailey Junior High.
Okay. And then,
Well, it was integrated while I was there.
and what I'm saying is, does anybody? I know integration, and this is what's missed in Mississippi history. Now, I've seen videos when you're talking about racial history in Mississippi. I've seen the videos of the dogs in Alabama.
Mm-hmm.
Was integration accepted in Mississippi, which I know it was not? But how
Oh, no.
violent?
That's
did
where
it
all these
get?
private schools
I don't
came
think there
from.
was any violence because of it. I think it was an easy transition. But yeah, private schools popped
Yeah,
up
yeah. It was,
everywhere.
so it was a little more peaceful, I guess. But then there was Ole Miss with James Meredith.
Yeah,
and-
hang on.
Some fight.
Do you agree with, or what was your memories, Randy, about integration?
Integration, the whites that were sent to the black schools, there were some problems, and yeah, there were some fights and stuff.
Was there ever blacks sent to white schools where police had to be involved, to your knowledge? I mean, I know they were. I'm not saying there wasn't, but I'm trying to get
Like,
some
did you see
firsthand
personally?
Exactly,
personal.
exactly. I remember Central High School, one of the main one downtown.
Okay.
They had to send in law enforcement because Central was traditionally the predominantly white standard school downtown. Whereas when blacks began to come down there, they had to have an enforcement technique because the whites didn't want them there. The whites didn't want them there.
Okay.
And see, like when Richie came through, which was listening to his date, birth, and age, Richie came through about 3 years behind me. So that would put him whereas they were about to iron out the kinks of things then, where everything began to, the mechanism began to work more smoothly. But initially, there was conflict.
Okay, and the cases we were talking about, the United States Supreme Court rulings, of course, Brown versus Board of Education,
Exactly.
1954, U.S. versus Hines in 1969,
Okay.
and Alexander versus Holmes County Board of Education, 1969, forced schools to desegregate. And I'm not really familiar with U.S. versus Hines or Alexander versus Holmes
Right.
County.
We're not either.
Yeah, so I mean, so now in the 70s, that's where you began the white flight to academies, and that's where the academy system.
Exactly.
And I graduated from Washington School Academy. Let's be started school there in 1979. So let's put all the hands on the cards. Did you remember seeing that?
The academy is
Yeah,
springing
the
up?
academy springing up, and what
Exactly.
Was, and what was the conversation or thought process back then?
Well, back then, there wasn't a big contestant. No one contesting that particular move at the time. Overall, just like today, and we're going to get off into this a little bit further with one of the questions on the agenda here today, but one of the topics on the agenda. However,
They don't want to be around.
yeah, they didn't actually want to be around you.
Was it? If y'all don't want to be here, good riddance type of deal, or did
Yeah,
you?
something of that nature, more or less.
Okay.
If you don't want to be here, then good riddance. Go
Okay.
ahead on and do your own thing. Something of that nature. Do your own thing.
Yeah. Now,
And that, of course, that defeated the whole purpose, right? When,
Yeah.
Right, exactly.
The point was for the communities to become integrated,
Yeah.
so
Right.
we wouldn't still like we're talking about how there's still some vestiges of segregation.
Those academy schools now
Now.
are integrated.
Yeah.
and which is great. A lot of the academy
but
schools
see,
are.
this is my whole point, and it gets back to the violence or lack of violence here. I just believe we've accepted a segregated society. I believe.
I don't agree with that.
Okay. You have still predominantly white academies, who I went to one. Okay, and like I said, did my mom and dad put me in a private school because it was only white? And I went to high school. I never went to high school. My first class with an African American was at the University of Mississippi. Now, we used to leave Washington School and go down to Wards and go down to the Y and play. And we had friends at St. Joe, and we had friends at other schools who were black. And that we'd go hang out and do whatever we want to. But primarily, my friends were based in that school that were mostly white, and it was an economic thing. Now, I remember.
Well, the Delta's different too, right? I mean,
But you can't sit here and tell me Jackson Prep, Jackson Academy, Hillcrest, Woodland Hills, Brandon Academy, MRA. They were all started at the same time.
they were.
But
without a
I
doubt.
think you're missing the point. I don't think it was as much as integration is that the parents are worried about the education they were going to get, and the city schools were not very good in education.
Whoa!
And they're still not.
The academies did not exist before those
I
court
understand.
rulings.
I understand. But the fact that they were integrated, I'll tell you firsthand knowledge that we had to start over on everything, and because in the predominantly black schools they were not teaching the kids the way we're teaching the white kids. It was a terrible system, and when the two mixed, you had to start over. And it was an amazing event to watch that, and it made me angry that why aren't the schools teaching the same thing? I think it has to do with education is more than it has to do with
No,
race.
you can't. No, I know. Like I said, my parents did not put me into schools because of race, but those schools were started because of race. Because if you get away from
That was an element, no question. But I think if the schools integrated, but it was a great, unbelievable education, then there would have been less academies.
So you're telling me it was easier just to start a whole new school system over?
No. What I'm
Because
saying
those
is
academies did not exist in
no.
1970.
What I'm saying is when integration took place.
Yes.
The school that had predominantly black children were not taught to the standard of predominantly
you
white.
said that, and what
and
I'm
what I'm
saying
telling
is-
you is when they combined the two, you were behind.
That's the second time you said it, and I heard it the first time.
Yeah.
And what I'm telling you is, whether they combined it or not, the white academies did not come up until those court orders. No one was screaming,
I
no one
agree
was
100%
fighting
with you.
that these people are not educated.
And I definitely think that integration had a part.
You didn't
in it.
have two water fountains that said educated, uneducated.
There's
you had
no
white
doubt.
and black.
There's no doubt that was a part of it. But what I'm telling you is, if the education was unbelievable, and even when you integrate, the education was unbelievable, there'd be less academies and less private schools.
Yeah, I think, and
I would agree with that.
there are some academies I think you can point to, and it's even in their charter statements. I mean, there's some sort of anti-integration statement in some of them. So it may not be all of the academies, but you can point. And I think it was probably bad in the Delta too. You can point to these schools where it's almost like in their they probably don't have this anymore, but in their charter statements, it was like they're doing this to oppose
I can tell you, as
integration.
someone in the 80s,
But some of them may have been about education. But
in the 80s,
some of them were definitely about race.
You can
There's
see,
no question. Yeah,
you
no
can
question.
you could actually have conversations. I heard conversations. Oh my God! And I don't even know which one was the first one to break the color lines. But oh my God, someone got a black football player. Oh my God, there's a black going here. Those conversations happen. Now let me say this: as someone who played a lot of street ball, I actually quit high school basketball because I could go down and play street ball with some grown men. I was usually the white. There was 2 or 3 of my friends who were white. We would leave there, and we would be in. They weren't full-fledged fights, but it was at wards. It was a street court. We'd be out there swinging, throwing elbows, cussing each other, playing ball with people of all natures. Predominantly, there was college people, there's grown men, but those games were intense. Those games were, life or death out there at the time, and they were great. And I love them. I miss them to today. Then we'd go to basketball practice, and it'd be 30 minutes. Half the guys would be out there because their parents wanted them something to do. They couldn't pass a drug test. We'd get in trouble for working out with weights. And we all quit. Well, I quit, and I said, I'm going to play street ball. I wasn't going to the NBA or stuff. But what I'm saying is we knew that it was insane, the system we were playing in, that was not including these people. Because what I was talking about is one of the basketball coaches came up to me and said, why don't you come over and start for the public school, play for the public school? And I came home and I said, Mom, I'm going to TL. And there were metal detectors at TL. And my mom was like, nope, you're not getting shot.
So who is these people? Who are you talking about?
What are you talking about? No, I'm talking, when you say my assistant, you're not mic'd up. When you say what assistants or who's saying it, no, I'm talking about, no, there was real issues. Look, Greenville Christian right now is integrated in Mississippi. And Greenville Christian was a small redneck school in Greenville, private school. Now, I have not kept up with them, but I've heard that they've gone completely integrated, and they're like a 2A or 1A, but they have they're wearing people out, and they're doing it with African-American students who are trying to get away from public school systems to get an affordable academy, but the guys can hoop, the guys can play football. And there was an injury on Facebook, I didn't get all of it, but you could see the outrage from the white people that how dare these black people play an academy ball. And what I'm saying, if that's going on in 2020, I heard it all my life in the 1980s and how dare they? And of course, and when you're 7 or 10 or 11 or 12, you don't know, because people used to look at me like, well, you go to the Y and play basketball, you go to the Y and hang out with the Jenkins boys, or you go. It's like, yeah, because they're there. And I mean, they'd come over and swim and all that stuff. But I mean, what I'm all tying this into is the reason we're not having any racial rioting or racial anger, because mutual associate of all ours who privately told us, who participated in Black Lives Matter, and he went to a very good institution. I'm telling everybody not to mention his name, that he wanted to throw a brick. And he knew that if he threw a brick, he'd be arrested immediately because he was like, I just need some more anger. And it's not that you want to commit violence. It's we all have adapted this plantation mentality where it is small town USA. It is, we're okay being last, or we're maybe behind Alabama in race. But there's no anger here about unemployment. There's no anger here about the pandemic. In my mind, and Steve and I, you can go look at the archives, Steve and I go at it each other. A lot of the riots are not just leftists. They're people who are unemployed. It's not about Black Lives Matter. It's about people being told what to do, not having jobs, being broke. And that's just a pure anger. But we're not having any of that here. I mean, and because we've accepted a segregated society. Now, you do have the exceptions like Clinton, where two of your kids go to school.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you.
I just don't agree with you.
Okay, so tell me how. So you said.
I don't think we've accepted segregation. It's this unfortunate reality that a lot of us are trying to continue to break down. But like you mentioned Clinton, it's a great example. I was talking about how when you know the academies and the whatever else that was opposed to integration. I mean, the way I went to public school is unique in the country, and that is everybody went to the same school. So if you were rich in Clinton or poor in Clinton, if you were white in Clinton or black in Clinton, we all went to the same school.
But that's not really unique nationwide.
Yes, it is.
That's just small town.
They don't do that. They don't do that in. They don't do that in Raymond. We got a separate school.
In Raymond,
even in Jackson, it's community-based schools.
Well, yes,
schools.
but what I'm saying, but in a smaller community, you have one school,
right?
Public schools.
Right, but the point of it is that it's integrated, is fully integrated, and so I went to school with wealthier white people that I normally would not have gone to school with, as well as poorer, various different kinds of people.
And of course, you come along later in life, and it's changed a lot. Schools have changed a lot.
Right.
I still would like to ask Wildman one question because he hadn't answered it yet.
Yeah.
What is the reason we're not having violence in the state of Mississippi? I want your opinion because I would like to hear it. Why do you think that's the case?
I think that we're not having violence in the state of Mississippi for, number one, as Brent kind of touched upon, that society here in Mississippi, in certain instances, they have more or less accepted segregation. You know, whether knowingly or unknowingly, subconsciously, they've accepted the fact that segregation does exist, and they don't want to rock the boat. But in all actuality, in order for Mississippi to begin to move forward, then there's got to be integration, but above all, funding. The funding is not equally distributed among the school system as such. The funding isn't equally distributed. Therefore, as you reflected upon, Richard, education in JPS actually sucks. It actually sucks.
Is that what that F means? I thought that F was for fantastic. That doesn't mean fantastic. Go ahead, Randy.
But I have a question, Wildman.
My assistant is getting a little bit too vocal, and I'm going to remind her she was invited.
Get her a mic.
I've invited her to get her mic, and she declined.
We're definitely have to get her up in here.
I'm having a hard time, Wildman, explaining this to me.
Why
acceptance of integration stops violence? It seems it would be just the opposite.
Okay, hang on. We're 50 minutes into the show. We're going to wrap up part 1 right now.
Okay.
Come back next week. This will be the new episode 4 or 3. We can't count. And we're going to get into, this is where we're going to stop part 1 of this show. And, and in 7 more days, we're going to come back and start, is Mississippi segregated? How so? And what do we do if it is?
Well, we need those comments now.
And for anybody who's going to comment on
We
this
need those
show,
comments.
you get $250, an actual comment, not just a like, a comment about the show.
We need a comment.
Please, last time, a lot of people commented about Alyssa Milano. And let me go ahead and tell you, you two picked the image of Melissa Milano or Alyssa Milano. And some of you lazy people just commented on her and didn't watch the show. You're never going to win the $250 just commenting on the first screen. You're going to have to watch the show. But thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. We're having a fantastic conversation. We're also want to thank Randy Wildman Brown for coming by.
Yes.
Stephen, before we get off, it's one of your better shows. Where do people contact
Thank
you?
My number, I'm sorry, Brent, my number 601-925-4700.
And if people want to do any real estate closings or anything like that, I'm going to use Stephen Nixon. I really, we go back and forth. We all do here, but we're all friends. Richie, how do people contact you?
601-988-8888.
And if people want to contact me, Hazard Law, 601-977-5253. Randy, one thing we did not talk about, we're going to talk about next show, next chapter. You started Doggone Dishing.
Exactly, and
You and your lovely bride.
me, no,
AKA my assistant.
she, AKA your assistant. Well, actually, she's my better half when I say Miss Wild, Miss Wild. That's right. We had our 10th year this year, but unfortunately, due to COVID-19, we were only able to give away about 450 to 500 book bags that were fully supplied with school supplies. However, we look forward, hopefully, by the grace of God, to a better show next year. But to each gentleman sitting at this table, let me please tell you, because I am in radio, please do not say zero when you're referring to a number, because zero is an alphabet.
What the? Are we talking about how
Are
people
we
can
talking
donate
about
to your charity? I don't need a lecture.
No, I got to lecture you, Brent, because people will mistake O for four.
Okay, stop.
This is
how do
Mississippi.
people donate to Doggone Dishing, Janice?
Okay. Wait a minute, let me tell it. She's not on the camera.
Well, you're not.
Wait a minute, hold up.
I don't know what you're
Hold
having
up.
a stroke about.
I want people to be able to
You're
contact
confusing
everyone.
this redneck to some Jackson Prep
Oh,
white
you
boy.
know, hey, we can go there.
We
We
can
ride.
go there.
Hey, we
How
ride
do people
to go.
donate to
Okay.
Doggone
If
Dishing?
you want to donate to the Doggone Dishing Festival, please go to www.randywildmanbrown.com and you will see the orange donate button. Click on that, and we would definitely appreciate your contributions, because it always helps one child, if not more, that's less fortunate than the other, to have a great, successful time in entering school. On that note.
And it's a non-profit.
And of course, it's a 501c3 program, and we thank everyone for participating over our 10-year tenure, and we're looking for 10 more. Thank you.
Come back. We're going to continue the conversation. This is what we're trying to do in Mississippi, is having the awkward conversation in a professional and a kind, what's the word, courteous manner.
Yeah.
But we'll see y'all next week. Thank you for listening.